Hi, my name's Craig, and I'm a results leader.
You're listening to ResultsLeader.fm. Being a thought leader is easy. Getting results is hard. This show is for the results leader who lives and dies by their results. Here is your host and Chief Results Leader, Jonathan Rivera.
Yes, y'all. It is time once again for another ResultsLeader.fm. So glad that you're here, and I'm going to reward your attendance with a discussion with another brilliant businessman. Today, I have Mr. Craig Paxson joining me. He shows businesses how to scale their results, make more money, and have more time with family. He's an all-around good guy with great stories, as you will see. Let's jump in. Craig, it is amazing to be speaking with you again. So glad you're here with us. Are you ready to rock this thing?
Jonathan, I am ready to rock.
Yes, indeed. Let's serve up a fast win for our listeners. What book have you given most as a gift?
The Goal by Eli Goldratt. Very few people outside of manufacturing have read it, but it is the best, one of the top 5 management books of all time. And I don't care if you're in manufacturing, service, healthcare, anything, you need to read The Goal by Eli Goldratt and really understand it and put into practice the things that he talks about in there. It's a super easy read. It's a love story. It's actually a story. It's a love story. It's a manufacturing story, but the principles and stuff are awesome. The Goal by Eli Goldratt, my go-to gift book.
Boom. There it is. He can drop the mic now. He can just walk away because we've never heard of that one before. So that is now on my reading list. Thank you for that. And speaking of stories, can you tell us a story of how an apparent failure set you up for later success?
Yeah, and so I'm gonna talk not really about a failure like in action, but sort of a failure in, I don't want to say character, let's say personality. So long time ago, I was not really social. Nice guy, liked people, but I wasn't what I would call outgoing and social. And I had a boss who encouraged me to get more social. She doesn't realize the impact that she had on me. She told me to go to Toastmasters so I could learn to be a little bit more just social in speaking instead of purely being about business. So I was going to go to the Toastmasters meeting at noon, really close to work. And I went and drove in the parking lot and sat there and thought, I really don't want to walk inside because I know that I'm just going to be the center of attention and I don't want to be the center of attention. And so I just sat there and sat there and sat there. And finally, I said, I told her I would go. I got to go. So I walked in, and of course I walked in late. And what did that make me?
Center of
The
attention.
center of attention, right? so, I mean, a couple lessons from that. Obviously, number one is, don't be late. But also, that experience of doing that put me on the path to learning how to be social. And it wasn't an innate thing for me to do, but I found that over time I liked it. So I began going to every networking event that I could. It doesn't matter if I knew anybody there. It didn't matter whether the subject matter was something I cared about. It didn't matter. I went to every networking event that I could, just so that I could meet new people and learn to have small talk and learn to engage with brand new people. And that whole experience completely changed my life. Now I would say I'm almost a social butterfly. I love it. And it's strictly because of that one experience of going to Toastmasters and sitting in the parking lot and being late.
What would you say is the most worthwhile investment that you have ever made?
Education. And I don't mean formal education, although I have several college degrees. Formal education is wonderful, but learning how to educate myself is the most worthwhile investment. So, I have spent a gajillion dollars on books, courses, but mostly books, and learning to read and educate myself is the most important and worthwhile investment. A good friend of mine is a very successful business person, great executive coach, doesn't have a college degree. It's not about the formal education. It's about the learning how to educate yourself. So that's what I would say.
What is the difference between formal education and learning how to educate yourself?
You can go to college, right? So you take classes, you go to college, and that can be a wonderful thing. But I think so we end college and we're 22, 23 years old, right? And then 20 years later, have we learned anything else, right? Maybe we have because we were forced to learn something else, but having that insatiable curiosity, one of my operating principles is learn something new every day. And so that having that mindset, I'm going to learn something every single day. I'm educating myself. It could be something formal, like I want to say formal, but it could be something like reading a book, or it could be something like having a conversation with somebody and saying, oh man, that was a great point. I'm going to remember that, right? And internalizing that and taking the knowledge that you learn and combining it with other knowledge that you already have. And maybe that piques a question. You're like, I want to go think about this, and you go research it. And then maybe you buy a book or listen to a podcast or watch a video. And then that sparks another connection. And now you've just made some brand new knowledge for yourself. And then that sparks another question, right? And you go research that question, and then you learn something, and that connects with something else in your brain. Now you've just created a brand new piece of education for yourself. And it's that constant educating of yourself like that, being curious, asking questions, learning something, making connection to something else you already know, being more curious. That informal education, I think, is far more valuable than the formal education of going to college.
I want to thank you for that, because as I'm listening to you, I realize I think you just gave us the secret of being a lifelong learner, and it's asking better questions, because you get curious, you read something new, and it causes you to have a new question and form a new idea. Holy cow.
Yeah,
I didn't even
absolutely.
know we were in for that on this episode. So let's go to the next question. In the last 5 years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has most improved your life?
Walking.
Walking? What?
Walking.
What?
Walking.
You knew
Yes.
how to walk when you were like a kid, 12
Right.
months old.
Yeah, that's what one would think, right? But I was an athlete in college, played college baseball. I was a power lifter when I was young. I ended up having a couple neck surgeries. So all of that had to stop. And so because I wasn't training physically for something in competition, like baseball or powerlifting, I just let my health slide, right? But many surgeries later, knees and necks and stuff, I just didn't really feel like I could exercise. But I started walking last year, and I walk 3-4 times a week. And I tell you, the fact of getting outside here in Nashville on the Nashville Greenway that we have, which is semi-secluded, it's just a wonderful place. That act of getting out there, breathing fresh air, having that time to think and clear my head, not worry about email, looking at a screen. I put in my headphones, I listen to some music, and if I feel like singing out loud, I sing out loud. And if I just feel like being quiet and thinking while the music's playing, I get a great idea. Plus the health benefits of walking, right? I mean, losing weight, the blood pressure going down, all of that stuff. But that act of walking on a consistent basis for an hour, hour and a half, several times a week has completely transformed the way that I think, I act, my health. It's the best thing. If you don't exercise, go walk. Just walk. It's the best.
I'm going to second that. I did a couple of years of walking. It surprisingly is a wonderful thing. And I'm glad that you brought that up. I don't think anybody has talked about getting out into the fresh air and walking. So I'm 100% behind that now. Let's have some fun. What are some bad recommendations you hear in your area of expertise?
Okay, I'm going to tell a story. I do small business consulting work and really do strategy work, which for me is very much about how do you compete in the market. So it's all market based. Well, I met with a prospect a while ago. They had another consultant they were working with, and I said, "So what are your goals going forward?" And they said, "We want to have 20% EBITDA, 20% profitability." I said, "Oh, really? That's great. Why 20%?" They said, well, "We're going to double our profitability in the next 3 years." And I said, "Oh, that sounds really good." So I went and looked up their industry in this database that I have, and their best in class profitability for their industry was 14%. So I went back and said, "So you're telling me that you're going to be 50% better than the best company in your industry? That's what you're telling me?" They're like, "Oh, we didn't even know that." So the bad habit here. So they'd come up with all these plans to double their profitability over the next 3 years, not even realizing that's probably not even possible. They were shooting at something that was probably impossible to get to, right? The best in class in their industry is only at 14%. They're not going to get to be 50% better, right? Unless the whole industry gets that much more profitable, which probably isn't going to happen. So the big thing that I tell everybody is you can't set goals without context. Too many times we set a goal without context. And I'll put this in terms of health, right? So I'm 6 foot tall. If I said I want to get down to 100 pounds, I mean, that makes no sense, right? The context for what my weight should be is based on science, right? It's based on my body type, my height, and there's some science that says, okay, you should weigh 180 pounds. It's not. So I know that my ideal weight, the context is 180 pounds. That's what I should be striving for, not some random number that I just pluck out of the air of 100 pounds or 200 pounds. And it's the same thing when we set goals in our business or our life. We have to understand the context. You can't just set a goal of saying, well, I want to double my sales. Okay, that sounds great. Has anybody else ever doubled their sales? Maybe so. Great, wonderful. Maybe not. You have to understand context. You have to understand what actually happens in the real world before you start setting the targets and goals that you have for yourself and for your business.
All right, we're about to get into the results portion of the show, but before we do that, I gotta ask you, have you shared the show? If you're digging what I'm laying down here, then I want to ask you to share this show with somebody who will find it helpful. Share it on your social medias. Use the hashtag ResultsLeaderFM, and I'll be looking for you out there. Thank you. Let's talk about results. Why do results matter?
Oh, results are overrated.
What?
So everything, we all have dreams and aspirations, right? The vision in my company, Visionary Results. We have these dreams and aspirations. But a couple things. One is, how do we know that we got into those dreams and aspirations, that we've had that vision achieved? And so the one exercise that I take with everybody, companies and people that I work with, is once we spell out your vision, and it's the heartfelt, emotional vision statement, what are the quantifiable results that say that you are actually making that vision come true? And once we do that, now we have something to work towards. So, a client of mine want to be the best employer in their town. Okay, that sounds wonderful. How do you know if you're the best employer in your city? How do you know that? So once we quantified that and said, now there's certain metrics that we're going to do around that, now we have something we can work towards. So the results show us, one, they show us a target that we're going towards, something we can measure and look at that proves if we're making our vision come true. And then two, once we do get those results, our vision should have come true. So results by themselves don't really matter. What results matter is in the context, again, back to context, in the context of making our dreams, making our vision come true. That's where the results really matter. Visionary to results.
I have to write it down. I'm writing it down right now. They got to pull that clip. Results by themselves don't matter. He's going totally opposite of the show. I got to use that one, man. So think back over the last 5 years, what new realization has helped you get better results for your clients?
Capabilities. A lot of times we want something to happen, right? We have a project, we want something to happen. And what do we say? What do we need to do to make this happen? And I take a step back and say, what do we need to have to make this happen? And then let's go perform actions to get the things we need, right? So, okay, we want to lose weight. What are the things people would mean start out? What are the things we need to do? Well, I need to diet, exercise, whatever. And I would back that up and say, what are the things you need to have in order to actually lose weight? So I have what I call the capabilities matrix. There are 6 different rows in the capabilities matrix. One of them is outcomes, measurable things. One of them is key processes. We think about losing weight. What are the key processes for losing weight? Well, that could be exercise or cooking healthy meals or shopping better or whatever. But then also, before we do that, we need to think, okay, what are some of the other rows in my matrix? What are the tools and resources that we need in order to actually make this happen? Well, maybe we need to have a cookbook. So we have to buy a cookbook. Maybe we need shoes to go walking in. I bought very expensive walking shoes after I wore out my regular tennis shoes. I think through this, what do we need to have, including the key processes, the things we need to do What are the things we need to have? And then we can do two things. One is those key processes, we can do those. But then two, the things that we need that we don't have, now we can put projects in place to go get those, right? And too many times I work with businesses and they don't figure out what they need. They just go start do. And then they're halfway through the doing and they say, oh, we didn't know we needed this. We forgot about this. Or the sales team and the operations team are on separate pages because they haven't coordinated together what all they need. Sales says, oh, I'm going to go sell a million widgets, and operations doesn't ever put into place the capability to make a million widgets, right? And so now the company's in trouble. Simple example. But putting in place those capabilities first, bring out the capabilities first, and then actually doing is the key, I think, to.
So let's dig into this just a little bit more. I have more than one friend that practice the ready, fire, aim methodology, and they just get out there and do, and then figure out what they need as they're doing. And you're talking about preparing and doing the research and figuring out what you need first. How do you keep from analysis paralysis, where you're doing too much thinking before the action?
This is where the matrix really helps, is because it's very much spelled out. So when I work with a business, there's 4 main functions for every business: selling whatever it is they do, selling their product or service, delivering that product or service, collecting the money that's owed to them, and then governing the organization. We go through this matrix, the 6 rows, those 4 columns, the 4 columns in the value chain for them, and figure out quickly what do we need. But then we go and we do. There is advantage to sometimes doing and then figuring out what you need. And there's the risk. If the risk is low, that's fine, right? You go, you do. One of my mantras is just do it. Be like Mike, just do it. But there's risk in that too. So if you fail and there's a bunch of risk, like for instance, sales team goes out and they sell 1 million widgets that the manufacturing team can't actually manufacture. Now you've just created a major problem. So in going through the capabilities matrix, we make sure that everybody is aligned. Then we can go and do. Organizationally, and especially if risk is high, I think it's important to really understand what we need before we just start doing. But too many businesses and too many people who run strategy stuff, it's just about, let's make a list of all the stuff we need to do. But you don't think through, oh, well, we need a new copy machine to do that. You just say, let's just go out, and if we need a new copy machine, we should know that ahead of time, right? And so that's really the capabilities that I'm talking about.
What area of your business would you like better results?
Well, like everybody, sales. Everybody wants more sales. Is there any entrepreneur that doesn't say, I have enough money in the bank? Oh, really? Good for you.
No,
I like
I'm
it.
just messing around.
It's like, yeah. So I got you with results don't matter. Now you just got me with raising your hand right there. That's the thing, right? We want sales. Now, sales is really 2 things. Sales, I think, for people like me and for you, sales is really, it's not about me making money. That's a nice thing. But I know that making a sale, I'm also helping somebody else, right? And that's really what it's about. We're providing value. We're creating value for our clients. And then we're capturing some of that value for ourselves so that we can continue to get better and provide value for other clients. But that's really, I would love to help more clients. That's what I really want to do.
I feel you, brother. So what results are you most proud of?
I was CEO of a small business, and I had some young managers in their 20s. And over the course of a couple of years as CEO of that small business, mentoring them to becoming really, really good managers was probably the most favorite thing I've ever done. We had 1 week a month that we did reviews of all their profit centers. And that was my favorite week of the month because I got to spend an hour or two with them talking about their particular business, what they were doing, what the metrics were that they had, how their business was performing financially and with all the other metrics, the things they were doing to make their little profit center better, right? And that process was, and watching them grow and get better. At the beginning, it was me asking tons of questions. They had no idea what the answer was. By the end of a couple of years, they knew all the questions I was going to ask, and they already had the answers, and they'd already started going and doing it. So watching that transformation was the best 2 years that I think I've ever spent in my professional life.
Any parting thoughts you want to share with the results leaders who are listening to us right now?
But once you have a vision and it's heartfelt, it's emotional, resonates with you, it resonates with your team, turn that vision into quantifiable results. Figure out what can you measure that tells you made that vision come true. And I guarantee just by doing that, you will spark in your brain activities and the capabilities that are needed to make that vision come true that will never have been in your brain if you didn't turn that vision into quantifiable, measurable results.
We are here with Mr. Craig Paxson. Brother, I know our listeners are going to want more from you. Where can they go?
So my website is visionaryresults.com. Go there and schedule a vision quest. It's a 30-minute conversation that we can have about whatever it is that you want to have, completely free and no strings attached. So yeah, go to my website and let's have a vision quest.
Excellent. I keep saying I'm not going to take credit. My team will make sure that there are links in the show notes. They do all the work. I get all the credit. You know how that goes. We are wrapping up another episode of Results Leader. Thank you for tuning in, and thank you, Craig, for being our guest.
That was awesome. Thank you very much.
That is a wrap for another edition of ResultsLeader.fm. If you are out there getting results for your clients and you want to be featured on the show, go to ResultsLeader.fm now and apply to be on the show. And if you love what you're hearing, share the show, give us a rating and review, do anything to help us get the message out there. Thought leadership is easy, but results leadership is hard. We'll catch you on the next
one. This program is brought to you by thepodcastfactory.com.